Well, hello, citizens of Gotham. My name is Graham Elwood. You're watching the Bitcoin Vigilante. Yeah, we're still doing it. We're still doing live stuff, guys. Not as often as we used to. We're working on raising money for a late night talk show, which is very, very exciting. And there's a lot of interest in it. It's moving forward quite nicely. But I still love talking about Bitcoin. And, you know, it's we're in a crazy spot right now. So like, share, subscribe. Let us know where you are in the world and in the chat and everything. I was trying to live stream on Rockfin. There was having some sort of tech issues today. I was trying to get that sorted out, but I don't know. Rockfin, what are you doing? Rockfin could have been this great spot for lefty progressives, but just now it's a right wing and wrestling and conspiracy theories or whatever. But you know, we love them. We love everybody over at Rockman. We're very happy with what they're doing over there. Yeah, go to grahamelwood.com, everybody. There is a link to my GoFundMe there at grahamelwood.com. There's also a link to buy the Christmas album, A Socialist Christmas with Graham Elwood. So please check that out. So much fun making that album. And I've even posted some kind of little music videos for it on my social media. My social media is at Graham Elwood on all of them, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever you want to call it, X. I'm drinking lovely green tea. And yeah, what else is there? I'm going to be announcing shows in China in January. I've got a little tour through China, which I'll be doing shows in and around Shanghai, like Ningbo, Nanjing, I believe, and then shows in Beijing. So I'll be there for 2 weeks, and then putting together shows in Japan, in Tokyo and Osaka, the end of January. So those dates, as soon as I get those locked in, I will have those up on my website, grahamelwood.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. We just sent out a new newsletter. Yeah, you know, participate in the collapse of the American empire. So, you know, it's kind of cool watching an empire collapse in real time. Yeah, put that out there. So let's get right into it. Hey everybody, welcome to the Political Vigilante, Bitcoin Vigilante, whatever you want to call me. I don't care. I'm vigilanting something. And we're going to talk about what is going on with the Bitcoin price. Are we in a bull run? Is this just a little pullback before we go nuts? Are we in a full-on bear market? I don't know. And a lot of people, a lot of experts in the Bitcoin space have all different types of opinions on this. And to talk about this is our longtime friend of the show, the crypto kitty, Rosie Tran. We have not seen her in a while. Rosie, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, Graham.
What is going on in your world?
So what's going on in my world is my new show, Rosie Tran Presents, on Amazon Prime, that is showcasing diversity in comedy. So focusing on a lot of women and minorities and alternative voices in stand-up.
Nice. So you're hosting like a stand-up show on Amazon.
I am. I'm hosting and I'm interviewing some of my friends and people that I think deserve to have a voice in stand-up. That don't get the mainstream voice that they deserve.
So is it just an interview show, or you're interviewing them and they're doing stand-up, or?
Yeah, so it's an interview and stand-up. So it's 28-minute episodes, and each episode features 2 comedians. The first 2 episodes are called Rosie Tran Presents Bad Asians, and it's Asians that are breaking the stereotypical model minority stereotype. My friend Aiden Park who's a gay Korean stand-up comedian, and Tony Vinh, who's a Vietnamese-American comedian. And just talking, I interview them and their story of how they got into stand-up comedy and things like that. And then they do a little bit of stand-up.
Oh, That's awesome. And is it on
Yeah.
now, or it's coming out, or when
It's
will it
on
be out?
now. If you go to
It's on
Amazon
now.
Prime, yeah, you can rent it and watch an episode and support me. Support independent content producers.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad you're doing that. That's really that is that's a very good thing. That's cool, getting the voices out. And Amazon, that's the Native American series that I directed was on Amazon. And you know, for all there is to say about Jeff Bezos, it's good that the Amazon platform is putting out all of this.
I'm glad that there are mainstream platforms that alternative voices can be heard. Even I think that there's pros and cons of everything, obviously. So I think that Amazon does have its pros.
Nice. Well, I'm glad that the show's out there, and I hope you get to do more of them. So let's talk about this. I was just scrolling back through you sending me a text about a year ago saying, "Oh my God, we're at 100K, like it finally happened." And this last 2025, I mean, I'm obviously no fan of Donald Trump, but I can give him credit for the fact that the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, I think, is a good idea. His crazy meme coins and all of his scams and his pump and dump, I can't say I condone those, but obviously there's a huge, like a short position right before he announces 30 minutes before he announces a trade tariff, and who knows which one of his sons did that short position. But anyway, just as Bitcoin goes, Cynthia Loomis, she understands Bitcoin. She helped draft the strategic reserve bill. And in this last year, we've seen Bitcoin go up consistently over 100, 110. There was the tariffs in April that brought the price down to 75, 80. It was doing kind of what it's doing right now, which is it was in the low 80s for a while. And then we had a new all-time high over the summer of 126,000. And so where are we, where do you think we are at now? Because, Michael Saylor is still, I mean, they tried to crush, tried to crush MicroStrategy's Jamie Dimon and that crowd. And to me, it appeared like they lost. But Bitcoin just in the last 24 hours went up to about 90K, and now it's back down to 86. And I know price prediction is sort of, a lot of people don't like doing that because who knows? But is this, and we've had these pullbacks right before a crazy bull run. Like we've definitely had those. And some people say, well, this is an indication of a bigger bear. We're going to go as low as 40K or whatever. But it's some people within the Bitcoin space, not the Peter Schiffs of the world, but like people within the Bitcoin space who track it and study it are like, this might be, there's all these variables. So I wanted to get your take on it. As somebody that follows this, you helped orange pill me, and like over 5-6 years ago, you did that. And so where do you think we're at right now? What do you think is happening?
So I will say, and sound like a boring dead record, but I think Bitcoin is just Bitcoining. It's a very volatile asset. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the information that I've been saying, speaking with you about for the last few years is exactly the same regardless of price. So first of all, Bitcoin is super volatile. It is still an alternative asset. It is not a mainstream asset. If I go, hey, Graham, let's go to the supermarket, and we go to the supermarket and we go up to like 5 random people, 4 out of those 5 random people have no idea what Bitcoin is. They still have absolutely no idea what Bitcoin is. Or they're like, isn't that like a Reddit thing? Or, someone might know something about it. But 4 out of 5 people, if we go just, wherever we are, if we're in Milwaukee or if we're in Los Angeles or if we're in Miami, Florida, maybe Miami, you would have a higher percentage of Bitcoin people. But if we just go to a random grocery store anywhere and say, hey, do you know what Bitcoin is? I guarantee you the majority of people will be like, what is that? Isn't it like a scam thing? Is it internet money? And so we are still, even at 86,000 or whatever the price is today, at the very cusp of most people do not know what Bitcoin is. And so there's still a lot of people flooding into the crypto space going, oh my God, I heard that it went to 120, and buying and then freaking out and selling. And that is just the wave of Bitcoin. It happens every single time Bitcoin reaches an all-time high. A bunch of new people hear about it, their ears perk up, they jump into the market, and then they freak out. And so that creates a lot of volatility in general. So that's the first thing. And I've said this, I think, every time I've been on your podcast, and I'll continue to say it until we go to the supermarket and it's 4 out of 5 people know what Bitcoin is.
No, it'll be when we go to the supermarket and we pay for our groceries with Bitcoin. That's when we'll know, like, oh, it's full adoption when, or as you say, at least 4 out of the 5 people understand it and own it, not just say something. Isn't that scam thing that they use for whatever, or that Sam Bankman thing, or that, like,
yeah.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
So that's my number one, I think, point is that we're still, you and I are still in the crypto nerds category, not like the everyday people category. And so, a lot of people still don't understand what it is. And because they don't understand what it is, a lot of people will jump in. They jump in when they see all-time highs. They jump in when they hear news about it, and so that creates a lot of volatility. The second thing that is happening is that Bitcoin, crypto, and a lot of assets tend to dip in the winter anyway, because people are selling assets to buy Christmas gifts, or, and it tends to go up around, March and April, May, when people get their tax returns, they have extra money, they put money into the market and things like that. So that's all across all asset classes, is that during Christmas time, during the holidays, obviously we're not all billionaires running around with just unlimited cash. And so a lot of times assets, especially alternative assets like Bitcoin, crypto, Ethereum, and things that are not kind of like your main, your 401k, your main stocks and things like that. People are like, okay, this is kind of like a fun thing I invested in just to see, and, I need to buy Christmas presents, so this is more important, or this is priority. And so that happens a lot. You have to understand Bitcoin, I mean, this, but the listeners or watchers have to understand that Bitcoin is this decentralized internet money. And so it's not, the majority of people owning it being the Michael Saylors. It's everyday people like me and you, Graham, who are backing this Bitcoin network. It's the little guy. It's not an Elon, Jeff Bezos type of thing. It's which came up out of, the internet. And a lot of people that are diehard Bitcoiners are the little guy. I mean, that's what Bitcoin represents, is not the central bank, not the Wall Street guys. It's the little guy. And so unfortunately, we would all love to take every penny that we have and put it in Bitcoin as much as we want to. But, Christmas comes around and bills need to be paid, and it's end of year and things stack up. And you'll see that a lot, but specifically with assets like cryptocurrency that people see more, I don't want to say as a throwaway asset, but they don't take it as seriously as their kind of like core investment portfolio, like their retirement assets.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, one of the things we've seen this fall is a lack of retail in Bitcoin. It's a lot of, and because there aren't as many, and also too, the thing that's just, the economy is not great. So people don't have an extra 500, 1,000, 2,000, whatever to throw in to just try this Bitcoin thing, like you say. But also I think that mentality has translated into some of the institutional money, because we've seen giant amounts of institutional money come into Bitcoin. When it was over the summer, it was a $2.4 trillion asset. And that was its market cap. And now it's down to 1.7 or something like that. So you've seen 700 some billion dollars come out of it. And I've heard of a lot of different theories. Some of it is you can track this, like some old school Bitcoin whales have cashed out, which I was thinking about, like, if I would have bought Bitcoin in 2000 when it was 50 cents or $1 or something, and I had all of this, and now here I am 15 years later, I'm older, I'm thinking about retirement. Maybe it's just like, I'm not going to gamble that Bitcoin's going to go to 1 million. What if quantum computing kills it or whatever? So I'm going to cash out. I'm going to sell half of my fat stack. And I think that there's some evidence showing that some big whales, some that have had large amounts of Bitcoin sitting in cold storage for years, have moved that. I mean, that's something you can track on the blockchain. You don't know the person, but if you see there's whatever 10,000 Bitcoin
transactions move,
yeah, you can see the transaction. So that's happened. I've heard people talk about that. Plus, there's everyone's like the bond market and all of these financial bubbles. Some people have even flat out said, the head of the EU and other people have said they view like Trump is trying to nosedive the dollar. And from what I can see and what I'm hearing, and this is just pure speculation, that I'm cobbling together based on several different interviews is that I guess Trump is trying to nosedive the dollar so that all these other assets crash, and then people are forced to put it into Bitcoin. Because we're in a different time. I mean, yes, Bitcoin has these short-term volatility is a part of Bitcoin. I always tell people, just buy it and hold it for 5 years, 4 years even, you'll make money. Just trust me on that. You'll make money. But in the short run, it's very, very volatile, and you have these big pullbacks from 115 to 85. You know, that's a significant pullback. So there's also the other side of this. I've heard some people talk. I watched the Swan Bitcoin channel a fair amount, and you know, if the U.S. economy does like nosedive, which it could do, I mean, Trump is doing the exact same thing Biden did, which is the economy is great. No, it's not. I don't know who you're talking to. It's not great, but so there's two scenarios, or not two, but there's several scenarios that I want to run by you. Is this just like you say, Bitcoin just doing Bitcoin and it'll start making more money again? Because what's really going to move the price, I mean, what moved the price was like the ETFs. What moved the price in big ways is institutional money doing big buys. I mean, and when the big institutional money done that, like you're saying, then the retail investor goes, hey, what's this Bitcoin thing at 120? Let me jump in on this. And then they panic when it drops to 100 or whatever. But the institutional money, so I'm just trying to see like what do you think 2026 is going to be? Do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, so I actually think that 2026 is going to be a bear market again. Bitcoin definitely goes up and down in cycles, and it's trackable. This is not something, you can look at the data. It's about a 500-day cycle, and it goes between whenever the next halving is. So usually Bitcoin will dip a little bit, and then whenever the next halving, I don't have it off the top of my head. I apologize. I should have prepped it before the call, but I think it's 2027. So I had the statistics. I just was looking this up, not because of your podcast, just because I was looking it up. And it's about a 500-day cycle. So it will go down again, and then usually a couple months after the halving, then it will, obviously because Bitcoin becomes scarcer after that, then it'll jump up about 80% or whatever. And it's happened every single halving. So, and then it goes down. It's kind of like this euphoric thing where people get excited, they put a bunch of money in, they know about the halving, they find out about the halving. But the reason I think in general, Bitcoin is going to go up long-term is because, like I said, we have this unlimited supply pretty much of people that don't know what it is. So we have this huge market of people who have no idea what it is and can get into the market, be potential retail buyers, investors, whatever. And then every single cycle, Bitcoin gets scarcer and scarcer. So I think that's, unless every single, the people that say, oh, Bitcoin's going to go to zero, that's logistically impossible because there's so much stored Bitcoin, lost Bitcoin. There's people, the guy that lost 100 million in Bitcoin threw it in the dumpster and his hard drive. So there's already a built-in kind of floor that's impossible for zero. And then every single person that believes in Bitcoin would have to give up on it. And it's growing at an exponential level right now as far as people that believe in it versus people that don't believe in it. So long term, it's going to go up. Right now, I do think we're going to be in a bear market for most of 2027, but I could be wrong. And I don't actually think I've been wrong before. I was about to say I've been wrong before about Bitcoin, but I actually don't think any of my predictions have been wrong, mostly because I don't stick to super. I know the general trends. Like I don't say, oh, I think Bitcoin's going to be $1 million by 2029 or something. So, but I think that the general trend is still up. I can't say the same for meme coins or other cryptocurrencies, Solana, which I have money in and am pro Solana, but I can't say that about Solana. But I can say that about Bitcoin because people are so passionate about it and what it represents. I am a little concerned about what's going on right now in the economy with not necessarily AI, but just I think that we're at the edge of a turning. I mean, that's the only way I can say it. I know that sounds super conspiracy theorist, but I think we're at a turning. I think we're, just like in the early 1900s, there was a huge industrial revolution. And I think we're in a robotics revolution. And Graham, when you and I are in our 70s and 80s, everything is going to look completely different. And we're at that turning point for that, everything looking completely different. There are self-driving cars, you know, if you are hanging out in Hollywood or LA, you might get run over by a Waymo. So this is not, we are going into the Jetsons era, and this is the very beginning of it. And it can be very exciting, and it can also be really scary. And there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think that's why things are so volatile with Bitcoin. They're so volatile with the economy, because people really don't know their place in this new world. We're on the cusp of turning into these futuristic worlds that were dreamed of in like 1984 and stuff like that, you know? I mean, and there's a lot of horrific stuff in 1984 and in some of these futuristic, you know, predictions from the 50s and things like that. But there's also a lot of hopeful things.
Yes, yeah. It's which science fiction you're reading? The dystopian future or the utopian future? I mean, that's what are you looking at? Is it Blade Runner, or is it, you know, is it Star Trek?
Is it Terminator? You know, yeah. Are the robots going to come and kill us or what? So I actually think it's going to be a little bit of both, because human nature, there's good people and there's bad people. You know, obviously want to go towards the good, but I do think that Bitcoin is part of this kind of AI robotics. It's happening exponentially faster than anyone anticipated. And I think people don't understand that. If you would have told me 5 years ago there would have been self-driving cars in LA, that I would say, yeah, like that's like, you know, 2050, not 2020, 25, 2026. But and I'm actually surprised the government like approved these self-driving cars, but there's self-driving cars all over the place. I don't know where you are, Graham, because I know you were here and then you travel and you're in Thailand. So I don't know where you're at right now.
I'm in Bangkok, Thailand right now. There's no self-driving cars here. There's just 10,000 scooters per square foot is what there is
How
here.
does that work? No, I've been to Asia, and there's definitely a lot of scooters. I don't know how the self-driving cars work when they get there, but they have the self-driving cars in China. So I don't know, you know, so it's just like, I just never would have thought that would be so soon in my life storyline to have self-driving cars. So things are happening exponentially. And especially in Asia, the fact that you're in Asia in general, especially, you know, I'm Vietnamese. In Vietnam, it's a very young culture. People are very young. The technology is growing so fast. There's a lot of so we just don't know what is going to happen in the next 20 years. And I think that is why the economy is doing what it is. And that's why people are so scared. I don't think people should be scared. I think they should be cautious, but there's a lot of fear, and that's causing volatility in the finance markets and in people's everyday lives with the economy and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a great point. I mean, 2 years ago, nobody knew what ChatGPT was. Nobody even mentioned the name. And now it's this like thing that is permeating like everyday life, and people are seeing jobs getting taken away, and what's going to happen to my job, you know, and it's going to, like you say, it's going to be this very sort of cataclysmic shift, and we don't know if it's going to be good or bad. It's hard to say. But, and then also the other thing too, with regard to just specifically the Bitcoin price, you know, we've had these like COVID cut the price in half, or the FTX scam just came out of nowhere and oh my God, it plummeted to as low as 16K, and everyone's like, oh my God. And it took 2 years for it to come back. So we could have another, but there also could be these things. I've heard some people say the past bear and bull cycles are going to get completely disrupted in a good way, because if America, and Trump said he was going to do this during the campaign, I knew it would be difficult to do this, but if the United States starts buying Bitcoin to add to its strategic reserve, then Russia and China will have to follow suit. That's the other thing too, is the BRICS countries, the whole reason for the creation of BRICS was to not have to play the United States game and not have to deal with the petrodollar and everything else. So smaller countries are making Bitcoin reserves. A couple of states in the US are doing it, but that's another thing that could suddenly just push the price into, we could just go into a parabolic, endless bull run, is if Russia and China start buying, so then the three largest economies on planet Earth are buying Bitcoin wholesale, the price is going to go nuts. And then everyone is going to jump in.
I agree with you. My understanding is that China has been secretly buying Bitcoin. I don't know if that's true, but I had read reports that, so they kept banning it for many, many years, as you know, and every single time they banned it, there was large transactions on the blockchain. So it was my understanding, again, conspiracy theory, I have no facts backing this, but from things that I've read, that they would ban it in China and then the Chinese government would secretly buy it up when it would crash. So I wouldn't put it past a government to do that. I'm not super pro-government, but
yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because if that happens, then the price could go nuts in a short amount of time. But then also, if markets collapse and everything, that could send the price really low, and then the price could then come back up. I don't know. Let me ask you this. Since you bring up AI and everything, the one sort of fear that I've heard from people within the Bitcoin space that understand it is quantum computers, right? They figure out how to crack the Bitcoin code. And some people say, well, the Bitcoin community, the Bitcoin network will put in stuff. I mean, this is way above my level in terms of like understanding this. I'm not going to pretend that I understand this, but just from what I've heard of people say, well, the Bitcoin network will come in and help prevent that. What do you think of quantum computing, and is it a legitimate threat to Bitcoin in the future?
Yeah, I'm not that knowledgeable about it. Are you talking about quantum computing to figure out the blockchain, to get the blockchain rewards? Is that what you're saying? So that people can hoard Bitcoin?
Yeah, or they can apparently overtake the blockchain and could start printing their own Bitcoin or something like that, disrupt the whole transparency of the system.
Yeah.
And if that happens, everyone would say, now Bitcoin is not this perfect money, it's hackable. And so then all the money would pull out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Anything's possible. I mean, like you said, AI is just exploding right now. There's things that we never would have thought of a year or 2 years ago would happen. So computers and machine learning are learning at the speed of the entire world. So you and I, unfortunately, we don't have this unlimited knowledge, but what you can plug in these systems into basically the collective knowledge of every single person. That's what the data collection is about. That's why these AI companies are collecting data and machine learning, and they're getting smarter and smarter at an exponential level. It's something that you and I cannot do. We're human. We have human limitations, but you can take a program and make it grow exponentially. I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of these AI robots, but I've watched some of the footage from just a few years ago where they're very, very robotic, and now they can move like humans. They look like you. I mean, obviously they're in a robot shell, but it's actually pretty interesting stuff, and it could be used for good or evil. I mean, that's the thing. It could be used for, hey, maybe people that there's super dangerous jobs out there that people are constantly getting injured. Hey, let's put an AI robot and have it do it instead of a person that's going to get their leg soldered off or whatever. But it could also be used for, spying. I know, you and I are comedians. The joke, I always hear comics, oh, we're not going to need women anymore because guys are going to have their robot girlfriends, or we're not going to need men anymore because women are going to have their robot boyfriends. But I think that's kind of like a low level, like, way to look at things, unfortunately. I think that there could be an existential threat, but just like the atom bomb, the nuclear bomb, we've had these weapons before in the past, and society has come together to kind of temper them. So I choose to believe that there's good in this world and that, things will balance out. But regarding your original question, yes, it is possible. It's a possibility, especially with how quick AI is learning and machine learning is happening. But I'm still going to believe in the Bitcoin network. I'm not a coder. I'm not a programmer. So I don't know the security levels. Like you said, it's above my pay grade, but it's definitely a possibility with how quickly things are evolving in that space. And it's exciting, but it's also scary in a way.
Okay, so I want to ask you this question because I was on Mona's podcast and she asked me this, and I know she asked you. But I want to ask you on this show is, how do you see, or do you see Bitcoin being involved in the entertainment industry? And if so, how?
Yes. So I think this is one of the most exciting things for people. I think I've talked a little bit on your show about NFTs and things like that. It's just, so Bitcoin and crypto in general are part of the decentralized world. And I love the decentralized world. I love it. I love that I can co-produce a show, get investors and produce a show on Amazon Prime and have someone have access to my stand-up and some of my friends' stand-up. I love that. I didn't like the model where I had to go and get on my hands and knees and beg to Paramount and beg to Warner Brothers and beg to the gatekeepers and the gatekeepers and the gatekeepers, and for them to say no because you're not signed with this agent or you're not signed with this manager, so go F off. I didn't like that system. I didn't like the centralized system. And Bitcoin and crypto is the same way. Is creators can, just like you know, you have this little sign up here that says donate Bitcoin to me, and it's a way for people to support. You know, you can do traditional as well. You know, you can do Venmo, you can do Zelle, but all of these platforms, whether it's Zelle, Venmo, Bitcoin, whatever, it's allowing creators to create independently and decentralized from the centralized control. You know, I don't want Uncle Sam telling me, you know, what I can and can't do and taking 80% of my money in taxes and putting me in the slave system. And I do not like having to go on my hands and knees and beg to these giant corporate media conglomerates to give me a chance. So I'm for anything that is decentralized where the creator, the artist has some control. And you can do that with NFTs through cryptocurrency. You can, you know, mint your own comedy album and things like that, and make sure that you get residuals on it. And so that's what I love about it, is that it's a way for creators to create and get, you know, basically the credit that they deserve. Because I've done a comedy special where it was under a corporate brand, and, you know, they basically made all the money and exploited me, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, my special Manifested that is available on iTunes, Apple TV. I paid for it. I cashed out a big crypto chunk that I had, and that's how I financed it myself. And you know, I'm a director producer, so I was able to direct it and produce it myself, and then I got distribution on it, and you know, that's been cool. I wish it was on a platform where people could just watch it and pay me on crypto. That's not there yet. That's something I've been trying to get, is like a streaming service type of thing where people buy it or rent it the way they do on Apple TV using Bitcoin, and then all the creatives' wallets are attached. So whenever it's bought, it just automatically, everybody gets paid, and it's completely transparent, and the streaming platform doesn't take the money and then give it out. It's just everybody gets their percentage. You negotiate the splits ahead of time, and so somebody buys your special for $10, the platform gets whatever, $2 of that, the director gets $1, you know, like everybody gets paid, and it's fair.
That's coming. So that's another thing. So we talked about Bitcoin and the price of it. So once cryptocurrency becomes more, and this is why we need the programmers, the developers, whatever, because the creatives in that field, because once it becomes more mainstream, it's just like the internet, right? So back in the day, you had to put like HTTPS, blah, 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 this long ass whatever, right? And now you can just put grahamelwood.com or whatever, and it redirects. So we just need that interface. We need that connector, that bridge from the crypto world, which is still like a bunch of like programmer nerds and like cypherpunks and things like that. And we need that bridge, which is happening right now, Graham, in real time and in the next 5-10 years, to the average consumer, to the average retail person, to the average investor, to the average person. And that's, I think, when we're going to see things really, really explode. So 124,000 a Bitcoin is amazing, but things are really, really going to take off once that bridge is built. And that bridge is in the process of being built. I really believe that.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of people in the Bitcoin space, and I think there's an interest in for that. And I think the entertainment, Hollywood doesn't get it yet, but they will when they start going. All it's going to take is somebody's going to come up with this platform, and some filmmaker is going to go, oh yeah, I get $1.50 per download, and it goes right to my account. And people are going to go, what? There's not like a distributor going, oh, sorry, I didn't make any money. Like,
well, here's the thing too, that you're saying that's so true, is that there's a lot of really, really powerful corporate interests that don't want that to happen.
Right.
And so, the guy that is the middleman that says, oh, no, I need to take the money, and oh, you didn't make any money, and here's a penny out of the $100,000 that you made, whatever. Those people are making money. They're making money. And if someone's making a lot of money off of exploiting you and me, they're not going to stop. And so there's these huge, they're not going to stop. And so there's these huge corporate interests that are kind of like selectively ignorant to not allow that system, I mean, And look at a lot of streaming platforms. Streaming was supposed to be the antithesis of the cable network. No commercials, you pay, and you don't have to deal with the corp. And now it's exact same. Now it's just streaming, but with commercials.
I know. And then you have to pay more. You're already paying a month. You got to pay more to get no commercials. Like, it's just like you guys have just painted themselves into a corner, and it'll get blown up somewhat. Somebody will come up with something. But you're right. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be the antithesis of cable. Hey, you don't want cable, you have to watch commercials, you have to do this, subscribe to our streaming. So then you would subscribe to your streaming, and then they hooked you, and there's no commercials, and it's great. And then all of a sudden the commercials slowly start coming in, and blah, blah. And so there's very, very powerful interests that do not want that system to happen. The system is going to happen, but they don't want it to happen. And so it's the cypherpunks, it's the alternative media, like political vigilante, like Bitcoin vigilante, that's getting the message out. And every single message, every single person that learns about it, every single person that has an idea, and every single independent entrepreneur builds that bridge, Graham. Like, it's for real. I mean, you found out about it through me. I'm your friend. And then look what happened. So it's like every single person, it grows exponentially. That's what I mean by exponentially.
Yes. I mean, I've definitely been censored and throttled, like, for so many reasons. But yeah, you make a valid point. Sometimes I feel like I'm like banging my head against the wall, but all it'll take is some big event to where, it might be the dollar collapsing, and then everybody goes into Bitcoin. Like every asset class will start collapsing, and then everyone will just go, we got to get into this Bitcoin thing. And then overnight, every store, every coffee shop, will suddenly start accepting it, and everyone will be figuring it out overnight because they'll have to. It's like nobody was doing Zoom meetings before COVID. You kind of did it, but now
everyone's doing Zoom meetings. Yeah.
Everyone's doing Zoom meetings. Nobody knew what ChatGPT was 2 years ago. Now everybody knows what it is and has at least used it once or twice. Everybody has at least tried it.
I remember being in an office. I was working in an office, and I said, there's no reason for me to be here. I just do everything on my computer. I could just be at home doing this. And my coworker said, you would never be allowed to work from home. And 2 years later, I was like, okay. I was like, I mean, we're not doing anything. We're at an office. We could do this at home. It's just like on the computer. And so there's no reason for us to actually be here. And she's like, you would never be allowed to work from home, Rosie. And I was like, all right. And then 2 years later, everyone's at home. So.
Yeah. And since COVID, a lot of companies have not gone back to in-person working. Some have, but I know companies that are exclusively remote. Now. They just, why spend all this money on a big office building? And when you can just, give somebody $100 to buy an office chair, that's your expense rather than, $40,000 a month on office space or whatever the hell they were spending, So,
well, here's sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, here's the assumption that, there's a lot of assumptions that people make that are just wrong. So one of the assumptions that was made forever and ever and ever in the corporate world is that people are lazy, and if you let them work from home, they'll never do any work. And what happened is that people proved that if they value their work and they're treated well, that can do work from home. Yeah. So just don't treat people like crap, and they'll get the work done.
Yeah. And also too, they found some people prefer back working in space and at home, but some people are actually, because they have a work-life balance at home, they're more productive because they don't have to sit in an office all day, and they get their job done, and then they can go on a walk. They can go pick their kids up from school and come right back and finish the thing, because it's more just like task oriented rather than you got to be in the office. And it's a very interesting thing that people are they're seeing. So, all right. So you think, well, that's good. We think you think 2026 still going to be sort of a bear market, but who knows? Something could change it in the good way. There could be some event that makes all of a sudden everybody is throwing their money into Bitcoin because there's nowhere else to put it.
I think in general, it's going to be a bear market. I'm trying to have, every time I have extra money, I'm trying to put it in Bitcoin. But I think overall the trend is up, just because that's where we're going. I mean, the Bitcoin strategic Bitcoin reserve, the fact that, like you just said, other countries are going to start investing in it as well. More retail investors learning about it. So the overall trend is always up. But right now, I think it's going to be somewhat in a bear. It's not going to be crazy booming. Oh, Bitcoin went to 300,000 today. I don't think it's going to be that. But Bitcoin has surprised more than one person at one time.
That would be that's one of those things. Is like, I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong on that one. So, all right. Well, Rosie, thank you so much. It was great to see you again. And I'm so glad things are going well with the show on Amazon. Tell everybody again where that is, where they can follow you, where they can see all your stuff.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. Follow my Rosie Tran Presents TV. That's my show. And on Amazon Prime. And I'm also Funny Rosie on X. I have been banned from Facebook.
What happened?
I got kicked off of Facebook, so I'm no longer on Facebook.
What did you do?
So I didn't do anything, but my girlfriend, we posted a silly video, and apparently it was too sexy. And I didn't know, because I don't go on Facebook that much. So they had sent us a notification that we violated their terms by being too sexy. And I could not remove the post because she had posted me, tagged me in it or whatever. We weren't being too sexy, Graham. We were not. I'm being serious. We were not being too sexy. It was a silly video. We were being silly. We were wearing swimsuits because we were trying to do clickbait. But anyway, I got banned.
Well, I've never been banned for being too sexy, to my knowledge.
I also, speaking of being too sexy, I also almost got kicked out of my dad's funeral in Vietnam for being too sexy. So I was wearing a knee-length, floor-length dress, Graham, but I had a V-neck collar, and apparently I was too sexy. And one of the monks felt I was too sexy and almost told me to leave.
Wow. It was
not low cut at all. I swear to God, it was not low cut at all. It was just a V-neck, but you're supposed to be totally covered up as a woman in the temple. So I was not totally covered up, and he told my brother I was too sexy, and my brother pulled me aside and was like, the monks want to kick you out of the funeral. You're too sexy. You need to go put a cardigan on. I was like, oh my God, I'm not too sexy.
Again, I've never been kicked out of a temple for being too sexy. I go to Buddhist temples every week here. I love it. I meditate there, but I've never been too sexy. So I applaud. You're out there pushing boundaries, Rosie.
I will show all your viewers the photo at the funeral. I was not too sexy. I swear to God, I was not too sexy, but apparently I was too sexy for the monks. So. All
right. That's cool. Way to go. Good for you.
But yes, follow me on Rosie Tran Presents. I'm not too sexy for Amazon Prime.
And when we get this late night talk show here, you got to come out and be on it.
Yes, I will.
Yeah. So share it on your social media, because you're one of the comics I definitely want to have come out here.
Okay, awesome. Guys, donate to Graham's raising of money for his Thai talk show.
Yes. Go to it's called Hollywood East Tonight with Graham Elwood. It's East meets West. So come check it out. Go to grahamelwood.com for the GoFundMe link. All right, Rosie.
Are you in Thailand full time? You're in Thailand full time?
Yeah, I mean, to do the show, I mean, there's definitely some stuff. I'll be back in LA for a while, but this show is taking up a lot of time in a good way. And so we're going to be neck deep in production, probably starting in March.
Yay!
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Graham.
All right. Good to see you. Thank you, Rosie. Rosie Tran, everybody. It was good to see her. We've had her on the show numerous times. Somebody in the chat said they deleted their Instagram. Well, that's our show, everybody. Please go to grahamelwood.com and go to the GoFundMe. And also the Christmas album. So check that out and like, share, and subscribe and do all that stuff. And yeah, the Christmas album, Socialist Christmas to Graham Elwood, is available at grahamelwood.com. It's on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and all that. And yeah, support the GoFundMe, man. We're getting there. We're going to have the money for the pilot very soon, and we'll be in production in March. I already have a couple investors interested. Kevin Pollock has donated. It's been very, very cool. So thanks for watching, everybody. Like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And we will see you soon. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom.